There is a moment in every judge's life that no law school prepares you for. It is not when you sentence your first man to prison. It is not when the courtroom goes silent. It is not even when a mother begins to cry. It is the moment, years later, when you realize you may have been wrong. I am 74 years old now. I no longer wear a robe. No one calls me Your Honor. But one case still calls me every night. And if I could reopen just one case out of thousands, it would be this one. I believed in the law the way some people believe in religion. The law was order. The law was fairness. The law was certainty. I became a judge because I trusted systems more than emotions. Emotions were messy. The law was clean. That belief earned me respect and promotions. It also blinded me. Judges are taught one thing above all else. Do not let sympathy interfere with judgment. You learn to control your face, your voice, your heart. You learn to see people as cases, not stories. That training saves you, until one day it destroys something inside you. The case landed on my desk on a Tuesday morning. Thin folder, few pages, no complications. A young man, 22 years old, charged with armed robbery. No criminal history, no gang ties, no violence record. I remember thinking, this will be straightforward. Straightforward cases are the most dangerous. The courtroom was ordinary. Wooden benches, fluorescent lights, the faint smell of old paper and coffee. The defendant stood when instructed. He didn't look angry. He didn't look scared. He looked tired. That should have mattered more than it did. One eyewitness, one moment of fear, one confident identification. No fingerprints, no DNA, no weapon recovered. But the law doesn't require certainty. It requires enough. And enough is a dangerous word. I had a full docket, 20 more cases waiting. The system does not reward hesitation. Judges who question too much are labeled soft. Judges who move fast are praised as efficient. Efficiency became my shield. She sat behind him, hands folded, eyes fixed on her son. She never cried loudly. She whispered prayers instead. I avoided looking at her. Judges learn early, do not meet the eyes of families. It makes the job harder. The jury deliberated less than 3 hours. When they returned, I already knew. Guilty. The word echoed longer than it should have. The defendant closed his eyes, not in anger, in acceptance. That still haunts me. Mandatory minimum, 25 years. I told myself, the law leaves me no choice. That sentence still feels like a lie. As he was led away, he turned once, toward his mother. No tears, no words, just a look that said, I'm sorry. That look followed me into retirement. I slept that night. That's the part that scares me the most. I told myself, the jury decided. The law was followed. Justice was done. I believed it. Because justice does not end in a courtroom. It follows people into prisons, into families, into decades, and sometimes into regret. Life moved forward the way it always does after a verdict. The courtroom emptied. The case file was archived. Another defendant stood where he once stood. For the system, the case was finished. For me, it wasn't. At first, the memory returned only occasionally. Late nights, quiet drives home. I would see his face for a second, then push it away. Judges learn how to bury things. That skill keeps the system running. People assume judges remember every case. We don't. We remember patterns, not faces. Numbers, not names. For survival, you have to forget. Because if you carried every sentence home with you, you wouldn't last a year. So I forgot. Or at least, I believed I did. I never visited the prison where he was sent. Judges rarely do. Prisons are the after of justice, and the system prefers judges not look too closely at the after. But sometimes, late at night, I imagined it. Concrete, noise, men aging faster than time itself, and a young man who entered at 22 and would leave middle-aged, if at all. I told myself, that is not my responsibility anymore. That sentence becomes easier to say with practice. Years passed. One afternoon, during an unrelated case, an expert witness testified about eyewitness memory, how stress distorts perception, how confidence does not equal accuracy, how memory fills gaps with imagination. I felt something tighten in my chest, because suddenly I remembered. The only evidence in that case was an eyewitness. I could have reviewed the file again. I could have asked questions. I could have sat with the discomfort. Instead, I did what the system teaches you to do. I moved on, and the doubt waited patiently. Retirement is strange for a judge. One day, your words decide lives. The next day, no one needs your voice at all. No courtroom, no robe, no structure, just time. Time is dangerous for people who avoided thinking. The letter arrived 2 years into my retirement. Handwritten. Careful handwriting. Respectful tone. From prison. I stared at the envelope longer than I should have. Judges receive letters sometimes, usually angry, accusing, desperate. This one felt different. I opened it slowly. He did not accuse me. That was the first shock. He did not beg for help. That was the second. He wrote, "Your Honor, I don't expect you to reopen my case. I don't expect you to believe me. I only want you to know that I forgive you. I've spent many years thinking about anger. Carrying it made prison harder. Letting it go made me free in a place designed to take freedom away." I had sentenced many men. None had ever forgiven me. Anger creates distance. Forgiveness removes it. His words placed responsibility back in my hands, where I had told myself it no longer belonged. I folded the letter and sat there for a long time. No courtroom could prepare you for that moment. I pulled the old case file from storage. Dusty, yellowed pages, cold facts. This time I read it without pressure. No schedule, no attorneys waiting, no reputation to protect. Just truth, or what I hoped was truth. The eyewitness testimony, confident, clear, certain. But now I noticed the details I once skimmed past. Poor lighting conditions, stress-induced tunnel vision, a brief encounter lasting seconds, a prior misidentification that was dismissed. all legally acceptable, but humanly fragile. The law does not require perfection. It requires thresholds, and thresholds are dangerous, because once something crosses the line of legal enough, the system stops asking questions. I realized something painful. I had followed the law perfectly and still might have failed justice completely. No corruption, no malice, no shortcuts, just momentum. Cases move fast, lives move slowly. The system favors speed over reflection, and I had been very good at moving fast. I calculated how long he had been inside. Years, decades nearly. Years of birthdays missed. Years of family aging without him. Years he would never get back, even if he were free tomorrow. The law cannot return time. Judges rarely confront that truth. I kept asking myself, if I were judging this case today, would I decide the same way? And the honest answer terrified me. I didn't know. People believe justice errors are rare. They aren't. They're just quiet, hidden behind procedure, buried under paperwork, lost in archives. Most don't get letters. I did. Judges wield enormous power, but power does not come with certainty. It comes with consequence, and sometimes those consequences arrive decades later when there is nothing you can do. I folded the letter again, and for the first time in my career, I whispered something I had never said before. What if I was wrong? When a judge loses his power. People think retirement brings peace. For judges, it brings something else first. Silence. No gavel. No attorneys. No objections. Just memory. And memory does not follow rules of evidence. It brings back what it wants, when it wants. The limits of what I could do. I explored every option. Petitions, appeals, innocence reviews. The system that moves quickly to convict moves painfully slow to reconsider. Cases do not reopen easily. Finality is valued more than truth. I learned that too late. Why reopening a case is so hard. The law fears uncertainty. Reopening one case invites questions about thousands more. So the system protects itself, not out of cruelty, but out of fear. Fear that admitting one mistake means admitting many. The moment I accepted my helplessness, there comes a point where power ends. I had crossed it. I could no longer sign orders. I could no longer demand hearings. All I had left was honesty. And honesty is a heavy thing when it arrives late. The difference between guilt and responsibility. Guilt is personal. Responsibility is permanent. I realized something painful. Even if the law was followed, the outcome still belonged to me. Judges don't pull triggers. They pull years. And years change people forever. What haunts me most? It is not the possibility that he was innocent. It is the certainty that I never slowed down enough to be sure. Justice should require doubt. Instead, doubt was treated as weakness. What I would do differently today. If I could return to that courtroom, I would ask more questions. I would take more time. I would tolerate discomfort, because lives deserve discomfort from those who judge them. The myth of the perfect system. People want to believe justice is precise. It isn't. It is human. And humans make mistakes, especially when rushed, tired, and confident. The danger is not bad judges. The danger is unquestioned certainty. The letter I still keep. I keep his letter in my desk, not as punishment, as a reminder. It reminds me that forgiveness does not erase responsibility. It only exposes it. What I want younger judges to hear. To those still on the bench, your efficiency will be praised, your speed will be rewarded, but your conscience will not forget. Take the extra moment, ask the extra question. No docket is more important than a life. What I want the public to understand. Justice is not automatic. It requires vigilance from judges, from juries, from citizens. Blind trust is dangerous, even in good systems. The case I would reopen. If I could reopen one case, it would not be to undo the past. It would be to finally do what I failed to do then. Sit with doubt. Listen longer. Honor the weight of decision. When someone holds power over another person's future, should speed matter more than certainty? Or is justice worth waiting for? I don't know if he was innocent. That truth may never be known. But I know this. Justice should haunt those who deliver it. If it doesn't, something is wrong. If this story made you think, if it unsettled you, if it changed the way you see justice, please share this video with someone who believes the system is simple. And if you value honest stories from people who spent a lifetime making difficult decisions, subscribe to this channel. These stories exist so others don't have to learn too late. Thank you for listening.